We got fraud, embezzlement, and B tiers. What's up, disc-generates? It's the disc golf world. I'm Jefferson, back in the Panera parking lot, and alongside me as always, the one with all the holes in his game, Swiss Cheese. There was no Pro Tour event this past weekend, but there were still plenty of pros playing disc golf. First though, I gotta give a quick shout out to all the Patreon and YouTube members for continuing to support us do what we love. Sort of like how the Masters at Bud Hill tournament worked. Well, except without the whole felony part. If you haven't heard about this situation with Jonathan Ray, or better known as Ray J, basically, he went to social media to say the 2024 Masters at Bud Hill was canceled. For those that don't know, that's a fairly significant Masters event. Looking back at the comments from disc golf scene, it appears players wanting a refund have been running into issues for over a month. Numerous amount of people claiming to have requested refunds but never hearing back, which was probably odd to them as the refund policy clearly indicates they have until October 6th. And I'm not a math guy, but shit, even I can look at a calendar to find that one. To make the matter worse, Ray J seemed to go cold when players were trying to figure this out. Even the state coordinator had to chime in. Didn't have much to say as he was even getting ghosted at the time. Although it did make mention of the pdga reaching out to Ray J. So they are fully aware of the situation and hopefully can help or resolve the mess in any possible way. Not likely, but a guy can dream. Which is what I assume the player field felt like they were in, when the reason Ray J was unresponsive was because he was on a fishing trip. Yeah, you heard that one right. During the time of being mass accused of embezzlement, he was off doing his best Adam Hammis impression. Completely off the grid because the man went fishing. Didn't know we were back at Ledgestone. I will say, thankfully, he took sole responsibility for the matter. I know that sounds like the bare minimum, but in today's world, this could have gone much worse. We should at least appreciate that he returned and didn't completely run off. For now, I mean, who knows what's going to happen. Ray J used the intended Masters money to pay off other tournaments and vending fees at the beginning of the season. That's what we like to call illegal. But it gets better, as he goes on to say this has been a normal business practice he's been making for years. Here's a quick tip for all you wanting to be a TD, or if we're being honest, in any type of business that involves other people's money. You know, that isn't entitled to you. Don't do that shit unless you're really trying to secure that Tour Series criminal. Also, I know social media is relatively new to the world with the disc golf demographic being a bit older, so I'll hand out more free advice. But the next stuff, I'm only telling our subscribers, so make sure to hit that button down below. If you do something illegal, don't post about it on Facebook. Pretty simple, especially when you have access to every player's email in the tournament. But boomers, am I right? There was a few notes from the post I would like to mention as well. First, Ray J says he didn't work through the winter. This is not an excuse to use other people's money to fund projects that aren't paying for themselves. Kinda why it's illegal. And don't you know to never fuck with people's money? It's the golden rule. I don't want to be insensitive, but not sure how the medical issues is a reason for there to be missing money. People pay to get into the tournament, and that money is supposed to be used exclusively for that event. How does higher costs, lower participation, and personal medical issues have any effect on the 2024 Bud Hill Masters? A few people were outspoken to support Ray J in his time of need. Terry Miller, the disc golf guy with the video blog, made a post on Ray J's Facebook wall showing his support for the friend. But what bothers me is referring to people voicing their concerns as talking shit. No, Terry, if my money was stolen, I would probably be talking some shit too. Justified, I should add. He then goes on to ask if there was anything he could do. Here's a start. How about we pool some money together and keep the event going as planned? I mean, there's some people out there crazy enough to think that's a smart idea. Personally, I would rather there be a fight to get Dynamic to put some money to the cause. That seems a little more realistic to me, as their pockets are much deeper than local disc golfers, and to be honest, it's not their responsibility to fork over their own money in order to keep someone out of jail. I'm not even sure if that's how it works. There also was a defensive follow-up post made by Terry to clear the air for any wrong interpretations of his post. Not sure what the consensus is, but victim blaming will always leave a bad taste in my mouth. $26,000 at the minimum was stolen from disc golfers. That's a felony. And I wouldn't be surprised if more legal action will be taken in pursuit. But I'm expecting a more detailed video from Disc Golf Law sometime soon, so go check out our boy for any legal updates from him. As for the PDGA, although Rebecca Duffy is not in charge of the call, she does voice her opinion on the matter, saying that he shouldn't be suspended in her eyes and that he's being punished enough. Which frankly is more wild than Heimberg actually getting pissed at Paul Oman over f***ing Catan. She does realize people are losing actual money here. Then again, she works for the PDGA. What should I expect? And then you have other fans thinking he should face jail time for his actions. But then there's others that believe he's doing the right thing by confessing. This whole thing's a mess. But Disgenerates, let us know in the comments what you think on the matter and what should be done to correct the situation. For now, Swiss, recap some disc golf for the people.
Beth at 69.
I just told myself, you just got to will this one in there. Whatever you have, just will it in there.
This man is unbelievable. This is what athletes live for. This is the moment.
With a scheduled off week, pros scattered among a number of stops. You had a DGPT qualifying series, the longest run tournament in disc golf, Maple Leaf Nationals, a disc golf states better known for their lobster, and a battle at Butler. But if I'm being honest, none carry the prestige and fame like the MVP Glitch World Championship, with over 150 competitors from across the nation looking to make a name for themselves at the one-day event. Speaking of making a name for yourself, how about Emmett Kreisland, kicking off his round with the only ace on the day? Certainly good enough to get the mention on the disc golf world. But of course, Simon Lizotte had to go and win his own event by not only shooting a 7-under, but followed that up by stunting on a teenager in a one-hole playoff with Ian McNamara, who was visiting all the way from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Simon was a gentleman enough to give him the gold medal glitch trophy, though, while Chelsea Beck won the other trophy comfortably by 6 strokes in the FPO. The event over the weekend with the biggest names was the DGPT Q Series event, the RIP, held at Haute Goat Disc Golf Course in Ontario. As much as it pains some fans to have the current world champion in Isaac Robinson, the greatest disc golfer currently in Gannon Buhr, and of course, all their friends who followed along for another qualifying event, that is really meant to help promote amateurs achieve a tour card. The fact of the matter is, with these pros and all the others help promote these stops to heights it wouldn't reach without them. That, and it allows me to go in depth on another Gannon decisive win, so we can all be quiet about it. Gannon was the only MPO player to shoot a double-digit round over the entire tournament, only for him to do it again the next 2 days. Gannon would shoot a 1092 rated 12-under round on day 1, only to top that on the final day with a 13-under to take down the event comfortably by 12 strokes over the Robinson brothers Isaac and Ezra. The FPO featured another young promising talent herself in Rebecca Don. The 16-year-old Canadian is also your current FJ18 USWDGC winner. Oh, and a 2024 Junior Worlds podium finisher also. And only her third FPO A-tier of her career, wins easily by 10 strokes over Alexandria Poletto. Don, who shot 77 points above her rating, led wire to wire with a couple of touring pros in attendance, mind you. And while I'm discussing dominant performances, the largest victory from a pro this weekend came from none other than Owen Scoggins. Owen, who's never known for taking a week off, won the American Flying Disc Open in New York by 25 strokes. Evan Smith continued his solid play fresh off his best DGPT Elite Series finish at D-Glow. Evan would start the tournament with his best rated round on the season at 1087 12-under. It was the hot round of the weekend by 2 strokes, and he would maintain his 7-stroke lead over the next 2 days on his way to his second A-tier victory this year. At another Canadian stop, this one on the opposite side of the country, there was the Canadian Nationals. Thomas Gilbert, apart from looking like he drinks milk for enjoyment, went bogey-free over the entire 3 days and won comfortably by 9 strokes. The victory showcased him shooting the hot round at both courses and his second Canadian national victory in 3 years. The FPO was far closer. Heading into the final round, Taylor, better known as Disc Tay Shohek, led by 2 strokes ahead of 2024 breakout Sophia Donica and Colleen McInnes. Taylor would match Sophia's hot 6-under round through the front 9, but would have back-to-back costly C1 misses shortly after on 12 and 13. Both Colleen and Taylor would close the gap, but Sophia would hold on to the victory. As much as Sophia's made some noise this year, be on the lookout for Taylor for years to come. She is another athlete who has discovered the sport late, who has a great work ethic with pro tutelage that has already found her being one of the premier distance throwers in the FPO. A similar story to other pros in Ella Hansen and Holland Hanley. Sophia locked in a sponsorship with her efforts this year, and Taylor should be no different this offseason. The Maine States Championship had an FPO comeback of its own, with Sarah Holcomb coming back from 4 strokes on the final day. It would all come down to the final hole as Sarah, Holly Finley, and Hannah Manis went into hole 18, all tied up at 10 under. Holcomb would par, while the others bogeyed, resulting in Sarah's first victory on the season. In the MPO, Harry Chase would need all of his 13 under final round to stay off a charging James Proctor to hold on to the win. The win is his second A-tier win in 2 straight weeks, as he just took down the Maple Hill Masters. Go check him out on coverage over at Gatekeeper. While in Pennsylvania at the Butler County Disc Golf Classic, Joel Freeman battled the lefty forehand specialist Chandler Kramer. Kramer had a 2-stroke lead heading into the final round, but would have his worst round on the final day. Joel, who was still down by 2 heading into the final 6 holes, where he would end up birdieing 5 of them to win by 3 strokes.
I got to spend the weekend over at Fairleigh Lake for a B tier that had the most electric finish I've watched all year. Check it out over on the GK channel. Also, shout out to OTB East Steve for hooking it up with a place to stay and everything else you did to make my life easier over the week. I truly wouldn't have survived without him, and everyone else that made that event so special. It's no surprise how that event sold more tickets than Smugs. And on that note, the Disc Golf Pro Tour returns this week at the Green Mountain Championships, the first playoff of the season. Make sure to tune in tomorrow at the Disc Golf World for the press conference. So what I'm saying is, you should basically subscribe at this point if you haven't already.
Working at OTB East, we're going to go Wonder Bread on this wand stamp. This is my first one alone, so I'm really just talking it out so I can hide my insecurities. But boom, boom. I'm glad I have this all recorded. My struggle.